Greetings. Today I want to discuss my best period that I had in New Zealand before I had the pivot point that actually I noticed the change in how I feel in this country. So it will be very interesting. Stay till the end. It's time for you to create life according to your rules. CLATYR. Create life according to your rules. So as you can guess, my best period in New Zealand was when I was here initially on a working holiday visa. I was just a traveler, just a tourist that had also opportunity to work for a year. So how it started with I was sitting with a friend overseas, and he told me, oh, there is a new working holiday visa opened, and there are about 300 places each year, so maybe you can apply and then you can have some travel. And I was just 22 back then, and I said, oh, okay, why not? And I was just in the middle of my university, and the next year I finished my university and I went here on working holiday with my ex. The issue is that my ex, I applied for the working holiday, but back then I told her as well, can you please apply as well? It was 11 p.m. I remember, and I was ready with my passports and with my documents and credit cards just to get in the 200 places or 300 places that are available. And for me it was very important to get this visa because I needed to work while I'm here because I didn't have the funds. I just finishing university. And it was 11 p.m. and I told her, okay, let's do it together. You need to be ready to apply. And she went to sleep. I thought, what are you doing? You won't have places tomorrow morning. No, don't worry. Tomorrow morning I'll apply. And I couldn't convince her otherwise, and just went to sleep. And she was, she was Moroccan, and she was very kind of dominant. And if I'll disturb her, she will begin to yell and scream and become aggressive. So I said, okay, you'll apply tomorrow. And of course, the next day she tried to apply and the visa was closed. So eventually we came here. I was on working holiday and she was on tourist visa. That's what happens when you don't appreciate the man in the relationship. Anyway, I mean, not appreciate the word of a man in a relationship. So we arrived, and actually, my first week, a few weeks were very nice. We arrived to Auckland and we stayed in City Garden Lodge, which actually burned down a few months ago. And for me it was really nice until I got myself together with all the jet lag. And then I learned that public transport in Auckland was terrible. So I rented a car for a few days, but then said, okay, I need to buy a car. So back in my country, buying a car was very expensive, but I noticed like in New Zealand, the cars are old and they really good shape, like really good condition, looking good and actually driving. And my first car was this nice car, Toyota Sinus. I paid, I think, $1,800 for this car. And this car was really nice, really nice. I like this car. This was my first car. I was so excited, so happy about it. Oh my God, I can afford a car on my own. I don't need to ask permission from my parents to use the car, because my parents, they've been very kind of, I don't know, jealous of their car and created a lot of difficulties for me to use their car. So I was, oh my God, I have my own car. And then I applied for a job next to the airport, and my first job in New Zealand was taking a stock, like, counting screws and stuff like that, like counting stock and stuff like that. Yeah, and I was very, very excited about it. And we rented a room very, very close to the Mission Bay Center, just 1 minute from the beach. Great location, and we rented with a couple, which also was, the couple was very nice. Everything is great. So what happened, I did this contract. This contract was only for 3 weeks, 1 month, just to count the stock. And also because I was very serious, okay, I probably need to study English and IELTS. And then I negotiated a really good deal with one of the colleges that I can study IELTS for a really good price. It was about $120 per week for a full-time study, which was amazing. And I began this course, and I want to stay at least like 2 or 3 months in Auckland. And things were going really nice for me. But the problem was my ex-partner was very bored. She was very bored in Auckland, and she, oh, I'm just wasting my time. I want to travel. And also, unfortunately, she was financially wasn't really good. She had debt that she needed to cover, and yeah, so there have been problems like that. So what happened, after 2 weeks being in Auckland and working the job, I needed to leave that job and give up the course and go and travel. So that was, I think, was a mistake. I think she needed to wait for me 3 months and stay in Auckland. And again, it's not like I was keeping her, okay, you need to stay in Auckland for 2-3 months, even though it's not that bad that we could stay in New Zealand eventually, so why not? It's not like she need to wait for 1 year or 2 years, but she couldn't wait 3 months. She waited barely 2 weeks. And of course, as a nice guy, I said, okay, bye-bye job, bye-bye nice course, okay. And yeah, we decided, okay, we want to travel. But then I also had this idea that I wanted a bigger car, and I learned that there are vans in New Zealand, and I wanted a van that we can sleep and travel with. And back then I didn't know much about camping and all the rules and stuff. So first time I think I slept in the small Toyota Sinus in Mount Manganui somewhere, just on the streets, and I didn't know that you can't do this, and it was so uncomfortable. So then we decided to switch this Toyota Sinus to Toyota Estima, and I just, everywhere I was going, I was looking, oh, Toyota Estima, Toyota Estima. So I wanted Toyota Estima, even not converted, For me it was, okay, just fold the seats back and then travel like that, Like I didn't have all these comfort preferences that I have now. For example, in my van, I have diesel heater and solar panels, electricity, a nice big bed, like tinted windows. I didn't have all those preferences back then. I was way more simpler, yeah. Yeah, so eventually we talked with one of the guys that was selling Toyota Estima, and the price was kind of okay. I think about $3,000, not converted Estima, year 1998 or something, 97. I remember it was 2013. So, but there were a few red flags that I noticed just in the end. Well, I was noticing those red flags, but I was so wanted this Estima. It looks quite nice, and I said, oh, I probably want this car. And we initially met in some kind of a place in New Lynn. And I was asking him, oh, where is your place? Oh yeah, I'll live somewhere there, and So first red flag, that we met someplace that is not. We met in some place that is not his house. Already very weird. And then, okay, in the evening I did a test drive for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and it was very nice and pleasant. Okay. And then I checked the car jam and stuff. Oh, it looks good. So I said, okay, yeah, let's next week let's meet and exchange, because I'm also selling my green car, so I need the money from the buyers, and then this money can be transferred to you. So we kind of agreed somehow that we will make the transaction and do the ownership change, all of us, you know, the seller, the buyers of my car, and I'm the buyer of their car, and we'll do all these things in one day. And also the buyers of my small car brought a mechanic, and they pay cash. So we went. We met in New Market, and then I met the people who buy my car, and they are very happy to get it. And then it was about 1 o'clock that we decided to meet. But then I'm calling my seller, and for some reason he's not coming. And why is not coming? It's already 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. Like, I'm calling, but yeah, I'm on my way, yeah. And then after 50 minutes he arrived, but he arrived, he arrived, I don't know, very sweaty, without a shirt, with his big belly, and it still I didn't get, oh, what's wrong? Why is so, why is he sweaty? Why is he doing that? And then I wanted to drive to take the Estima, yeah. I wanted to take it to drive to the post office, and also the buyers already driving my car, yes. And then he told me, oh, when we will transfer ownership, you will drive the van, don't worry. And that also was very strange. But then I noticed something else. I noticed when we were driving, some strong smell of burning metal kind of there. And I kind of told my partner, look, do you smell that? This is really bad smell, like something is wrong. And then I noticed that he's turning on the heat on the maximum, and he's turning off the engine each traffic light. Oh, that's strange. Are you sure there is everything okay with the car? And then he kind of told me, yeah, that's fine. Maybe it's overheating a bit. I said, well, that doesn't sound really fine. Can we stop and my buyers of the car have mechanics, so you can have a look at the car? And then, yeah, no problem. And then the mechanic checked the car and said, oh, the radiator is completely gone and it's overheating. And then I kind of told him, well, are you serious that you want to sell me a broken car, and why didn't you tell me? You heated the fact all the way. You told me that the car is not well. Anyway, so luckily the buyers of my car, they've been really understanding, and they gave me the cash back and my green car back, and that's how it ended eventually. But of course, 1 or 2 weeks later, I bought another Estima and sold my green car. That was fine. But yeah, like what a adventure, you know. I so wanted this Estima that I was completely blind that this car is malfunctioning. Yes, and then we went to Taupo and we did what's called Helpix website, you know, so woofing. With a really nice couple from Taupo. They grew their own vegetables, and we worked with their farm, and we got a nice room, and they've been really nice, really hospitable, and we had nice chats, and we went to restaurants, and so we stayed there maybe 1 or 2 weeks, or maybe 1 week, something like that. And then we moved on, and then we went to the next place near Wellington, stayed there for a few nights, not for woofing, but back then we just met some people who just wanted to, something like couch surfing, yeah. So we just stayed in different places. Also people were really nice, really open, and of course during the day we did some traveling. We went to Guerrero, we went different hikes. And of course, the nature was amazing. And also, it was the time when I stayed at the chateau. I was like, wow, probably working in such a place, that's amazing. Yes, and then we went to the South Island and traveled, and of course, every day was adventure, everything is new. And I was so happy to discover the country. And of course, everywhere people smiling. Back then I didn't know that the smiles were fake. And I was, oh, this country is so amazing. And then I was beginning to ask people around, like, if I saw some immigrants, how did you get residency here? How did you move here? Because I wanted to probably stay as well. And then I got some information. So I needed to eventually to find work that I could get sponsorship. But back then I didn't know that I need to do license and registration. So nothing really worked regarding employment. So it took me time sending CVs and cover letters and no responses. And that was very, let's say, disappointing, because I didn't know what's wrong. Why I not getting any responses to my applications. And back then I didn't know that my CV, the way it built, it wasn't really appropriately for New Zealand. Anyway, so part traveling, partially we've been meeting people, staying with houses of people and meeting other travelers, and it was really amazing, especially sometimes we stayed in backpackers, but a lot of the time we stayed just in the van. And the experience of eventually to a man traveling in New Zealand in a van with a lady, it's also really nice. Yeah, it's a good experience. I think everyone should try that. And then we went to Blenheim, and in Blenheim we stayed with a person, and he just told me the address, where the keys, and all the house for yourself for free. And he was overseas, and I was amazed that, wow, this person have no idea who we are and he trusts us. How can he do that? And then we stayed in that house in Blenheim for about a month. Yeah. The reason is that in Blenheim we had a bit of, quite a big dispute with my ex-lady, because she wanted to go back already, and she had this pressure with the money, with the finances, with our loans. And because of that, I just couldn't continue to enjoy my stay in New Zealand. She was all the time, oh, my bills, my debt, oh, holy shit. And then we had a fight, and I just, yeah, I think we separated then, and said, okay, I don't want anything, And then I continued to travel. She was about to get back to Auckland. And regarding the money from the van, we did half and half. So I told her, when I don't have the funds now, when I'll sell it, I'll give you the half. So after a few weeks, I went north. I went to Chateau Tongariro. I got a job over there as a porter, which was a really nice experience as well. But before the start, I met her somewhere along the way, and I took her to the airport. And then that was one of my scariest moments, that I actually stayed alone for quite a while in New Zealand by myself. And it was very scary, because, like, holy, I in a country where I almost know no one, and I'm alone by myself, first time in my life, because before that I had my parents close by, and different language, and I just on a visa, and all these things. So I was a bit scared, and also my ex left. But at least what I had a job in the chateau, and I could work only 3 months, because that was the conditions of the visa. And the work there was very interesting. It was I worked with some guy from Central America, from the Caribbean, and another Kiwi guy, and another Indian guy who studied here hospitality in AUT and wanted to stay. And yeah, we've been really nice team. It was for me, the views and the weather and being on the mountains was such a good experience. I felt so good over there. And the accommodation was cheap, about $80 per week. And for me, going for work, it was also like half a minute walk or 1 minute walk, you know, from the accommodation. Yes, and it was really nice. Yes, and back then I tried to have some kind of conversation with women and have some kind of contact. And back then I kind of noticed, even with the travelers, I noticed that they weren't really, wasn't really appealing to them. You know, it was one woman from South Korea, it was one from Japan, one from China, or of course few Kiwi women. I noticed like, well, there is no much interest. I was, oh, okay, yeah. And back then I wasn't really, you know, offended by that, because that's all right, you know, because it was just short time that I just, you know, finished a relationship, so it wasn't really bad. And yes, on my days off, I was going to Taupo, I was going to the hot pools, I was taking a room over there, and I was going to the clubs over there and been dancing really nice. And of course, in the clubs, nothing happened as well. And I also was suspicious. Oh, well, why is that? What is that happening? You know, but I still didn't get it. And then I finally got like a job interview with Child, Youth and Family back then. And but the job interview was in Christchurch, in the prison. So I was so happy about it. So I took a day off from my work, and in one day I flew from Auckland. So I'd driven all the way from Tongariro to Auckland. I'd driven there and then left my van there, and then flew to Christchurch, rented a car and driven to the interview, sat in the interview. Then I got back to the Christchurch airport, flew to Auckland, took my van and stopped that day in Hamilton with some family that was happy to host me. Yeah. And yeah, the interview was really interesting. It was like 3 people. It was like some youth correction facility. And then after the interview, they sent me also to do some kind of assignments. Yeah. And then they told me, okay, we still need to do one more thing. Can you please do one observation shift close to Rotorua, instead of going to South Island, just one shift, just that the other colleagues will observe you and then give their feedback. And for me, of course, it was very interesting experience, going first time in the prison in New Zealand, you know. And then I went to the shift over there for 8 hours. Wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do, but the young people over there been quite challenging indeed, very challenging. And I must say I quite struggled with the language because they were also using very hard slang language. And I must admit, my speaking and my English wasn't bright back then, wasn't really bright. And yeah, and after a week they told me, look, your English is not good enough. And I back then was, okay, I don't have more energy to apply for jobs. And I just continue my work in the chateau. And actually the chateau, they had really nice program that you could have a job in the chateau and also do like some kind of diploma for 2 years in hospitality that is very practical, that you do all the areas in the chateau, like, you know, maintenance and front desk and stuff like that. And also you get paid for that and you get diploma in the end. It was an amazing program. I applied for that, but unfortunately, because I wasn't a resident, so they didn't consider me. That was a shame. Yes, and after 3 months I finished my work, went to the airport, and then when I was leaving New Zealand I was crying. was crying because I had such a good experience and I really didn't want to go back to my home country. And yeah, that's how my first year actually finished, that I really longed to come back and live here again. And then after a few months of depression, I made a plan how I'm going to come back here and what I need to add in order to get a job and residency and all these things. I was so motivated to come back here. You can't imagine. So I've done really tough path. So who is interested to hear more what actually happened, how I actually succeeded to become permanent here, just let me know. Maybe I'll do just some continuity. But to summarize, the best period that I had in New Zealand was when I was a traveler, when I was kind of temporarily, when I was moving around, when you have no obligation and you see everything through the eyes of a traveler, someone temporarily, you know, like a backpacker. Because when you temporarily, you don't really care if like the women in your environment not really noticing you, have no chance with them, you know, you don't really care about that. If people treat you not really nice or very nice, you notice that, but it's not really affecting you much. But again, when you are permanent here, yes, so your perspective completely shifts, yeah. So if, for example, when I become permanent here, yeah, so if I wanted to buy a house, and let's say back then it wasn't expensive, but you look in, wait a second, yes, I'm going to buy this house, but wait a second, I'll be lonely here. Who I'm going to invite in my house, who will be interested in me, and there's no chance that I'll find a wife, so what's the point of buying this house? You see, but when you're a traveler here, you don't think about that. That's why you don't get disappointed, and then your experience as a traveler backpacker is really good, because you just enjoying the best there is here, which is nature and treks and all the holiday spots. And then you go back to your home base where you kind of belong and you speak the language and you don't need to go through all the difficulties that I was telling you about in my previous videos. So the position to be working holiday for me, to summarize, was the happiest time ever from all the 10 years that I've been in New Zealand. Have a good week. It's time for you to create life according to your rules. CLATYR. Create life according to your rules.